Welcome back to Talking Business as usual. We're diving into what is, without a doubt, a modern-day gold rush. But forget the pickaxes and pans. These prospectors aren't digging for metal. They're literally building the future of intelligence. We are talking about the absolutely unprecedented boom in the AI memory sector. It's a supercycle that's not just big, it's completely reshaping the entire tech landscape as we know it.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start big with the AI Memory Supercycle itself. Then we'll meet the four key players driving it. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the 2026 memory hierarchy, check out the insane stock rally that's happening, and of course, talk about the big risks you need to watch. We'll wrap it all up with a really interesting hidden supplier opportunity. Let's get into it.
So why all the hype right now? Well, it all comes down to one number. Look at this, $500 billion. Just let that sink in. That's what the big guys, think Microsoft, Google, Meta, are projected to spend on capital just in 2026. They're in this all-out sprint to build these gigantic AI data centers, and guess what? Every single one of them needs a mind-boggling amount of this super specialized memory. And that brings us right to the AI memory supercycle. What makes this whole thing different from past booms is what we're calling a non-negotiable demand. See, in the old days, memory demand went up and down, it was super volatile. But with AI, it is constant. It's relentless. In fact, get this. Companies like Micron and SK Hynix, they've already sold out their entire 2026 production capacity. The year's just started and the shelves are already bare. It's incredible. Okay, so who are the prospectors in this gold rush? Let's meet the big four companies right at the center of it all. You've got SK Hynix, you've got Samsung, Micron, and the new kid on the block, the recently independent SanDisk. Each one is playing this high-stakes game a little differently.
So let's break down their roles here. First up, SK Hynix. They're basically the performance leader. They've got this super tight relationship with NVIDIA, locking down something like 70% of their top-tier HBM contracts. Then you have Samsung, who we're calling the turnaround play. They're using their own massive factories to try and claw back market share. Micron, they are the scarcity king. Why? Because 100% of their 2026 AI memory is already spoken for, sold out. And then there's SanDisk, the disruptor, who's coming in with some brand new tech that might just change the whole game. Yeah, SanDisk's story is really interesting because they are so new to being on their own. For the longest time, they were stuck inside Western Digital, the company that also makes old-school hard drives. But some activist investors came in and basically said, hey, SanDisk's flash memory business is a pure-play AI powerhouse, and it's being held back. And you know what? They were totally right. That split, which happened in early 2025, let SanDisk focus 100% on this gold rush, and boy did the market notice. Now, to really get what's going on, you have to understand that not all AI memory is created equal. It's not all the same stuff. We're now in a world where there's a very clear hierarchy. Think of it like real estate. It's all about location, 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 how close and how fast the memory is to the AI processor, the brain of the operation. So at the very top of that pyramid, you have HBM4. This is the gold standard. It's the Formula One race car of memory. It is absolutely non-negotiable if you want to train the world's biggest and baddest AI models. We're talking bandwidth of over 2 terabytes per second. That insane speed is what lets the latest NVIDIA GPUs just chew through mountains of data. It is the absolute pinnacle of performance. But here's the thing. Training the model is only half the story. And this is where SanDisk comes in with its big disruption. HBF, or High Bandwidth Flash. It's designed to solve something called the memory wall. See, HBM is super fast, but it's also super expensive, and you can't have a lot of it. HBF offers, get this, 10 times the capacity at a much lower cost. This is absolutely critical for AI inference, which is just the fancy term for when the AI actually uses what it's learned. It means you can keep an entire giant model active in memory, ready to go, giving it a huge short-term memory to work with. And then you've got the unsung hero of the whole operation, the ESSD, or Enterprise Solid State Drive. Think about it. Training one of these giant AI models can take weeks, even months, and cost millions of dollars. What happens if the system crashes halfway through? Catastrophe. All that time and money, gone. Well, ESSDs are the safety net. They're constantly checkpointing or saving the model's progress. It's basically the multi-million-dollar insurance policy on these massive AI projects. All right, so you've got this insatiable demand, you've got all this game-changing tech. So what does that mean for the money?
Well, as you can imagine, the market has woken up, and it hasn't just woken up, it's ignited one of the most explosive stock rallies we have seen in the tech sector for a very, very long time. I mean, just look at these numbers. They really do speak for themselves. In just 1 year, SK Hynix is up over 400%. Micron, over 360%. Incredible returns. But then, look at SanDisk. Since it was spun off, it's posted a return of over 1,200%. That's not a typo. 1,200. Just a completely stunning, jaw-dropping performance.
So what was the final booster on that SanDisk rocket ship? It was their earnings report on January 29th. They came out with revenue over $3 billion, which just crushed expectations. But the real kicker, the number that made everyone's head spin, was this. Data center revenue was up 64%. Not year over year, 64% from the previous quarter. That's a signal that their strategy isn't just working. It's accelerating like crazy.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This was perfectly summed up by an analyst on the Schwab network who just said, this NAND cycle has been what they call nothing short of shocking. You know, the sheer speed and size of this boom, especially in the NAND flash market that SanDisk is dominating, it caught everyone off guard. Even the people who've been doing this for decades were just stunned.
Okay, but let's pump the brakes for a second. Every gold rush has its dangers, right? And this one is absolutely no exception. When you have a rally that goes this fast and this hard, it brings some really significant, high-stakes risks along with it. And it's crucial that anyone watching this space understands what they are.
We're really looking at 3 major storm clouds on the horizon. First up is a technical risk. HBM4 is insanely complex to make. If these companies can't figure out how to produce it efficiently, what they call yields, their profits could just evaporate. Second is a market risk, this idea of AI CapEx digestion. The big cloud companies might just hit pause on their spending to figure out how to best use all the stuff they just bought. And third, and this one's a big one, is geopolitical risk. The ongoing chip tensions could lead to new export rules that basically wall off a massive piece of the global market overnight.
So the next few months are going to be absolutely critical. Here's what's on our radar. In February, we're watching for Samsung's first shipments of HBM4 to see if they can really deliver. Then in March, all eyes are on NVIDIA's GTC conference, where we expect to see the first real hardware that uses this new memory. And then later in 2026, we're looking for SanDisk to get its first HBF samples out to the chip designers. These are the big milestones that'll tell us where this is all headed. And this brings us to our last big idea today. You know, with all the risk and volatility we just talked about, some people are looking at this whole thing from a different angle. They're asking, what if we don't bet on a single gold miner? What if we bet on the company selling all the picks and shovels? In the AI gold rush, the picks and shovels are the companies that make the incredibly complex equipment you need to manufacture these chips in the first place. Two names really stand out here, Lam Research and Advantest. Think of it this way. Lam Research helps make the chips. They're a pure-play equipment supplier, and they're especially critical for the kind of 3D NAND flash that SanDisk specializes in. Advantest, on the other hand, makes sure the chips work. They are the world leader in automated test equipment. Their whole job is to guarantee that every single one of these ridiculously complex memory chips is absolutely perfect before it goes out the door.
And this is really why that picks and shovels idea is so interesting. Check this out, 30 to 40%. That's the revenue growth Advantest is projecting for this fiscal year. Why? Because as these memory chips get crazier and crazier complex, you have to test them more and more intensely. It takes longer, it's more rigorous, and that means more business for Advantest. That growth is a direct result of this AI memory boom.
Okay, and of course, here's our mandatory reminder. This is all for informational purposes. This is absolutely not financial advice. So please make sure you do your own homework and due diligence before making any investment decisions. So, we'll leave you with this final question to chew on. HBM memory is becoming the most complex device humanity has ever tried to mass produce. So, will the real winners of this whole thing be the chip makers themselves, the ones digging for gold? Or will it be the companies that can guarantee that every single flake of that gold is absolutely perfect? It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive from Talking Business as Usual.